Hi, I'm Louis Tomlinson and I'm doing a Wired Autocomplete Interview. These are some random Google questions. So we'll start with this one. Yeah, just peel it off, shall I? How to pronounce Louis Tomlinson? Well, I've just done that for you. Well, before I was on the X Factor, sorry, all my friends from back home, they called me Louis. I mean, my name is Louis, but they called me Louis. That's what I was known as back home. And then on my first audition, Simon called me Louis, and I wasn't about to correct him, you know what I mean? So that's that. How old is Louis Tomlinson? I'm getting old. It feels like I'm getting old. Like 27, I am. How is Louis Tomlinson? Yeah, I'm doing all right, thanks. I'm doing all right. That's a random Google one. Well, what does Google say in response to that? I'd love to know. How can I meet Louis Tomlinson? Come to tour. Come to tour and I'll meet you then, hopefully. On to next. What is Louis Tomlinson's favourite food? I eat a lot of rubbish food, probably burgers. I eat a lot of McDonald's, but in terms of the ultimate burger, it probably has to be In-N-Out. Like, that is a proper burger. What else we got here? What is Louis Tomlinson's Zodiac sign? There's been a lot of talk of this while I've been doing promo in America. You guys love the Zodiac stuff. Capricorn, I am. I was told recently about some of the characteristics of a Capricorn. I think I maybe have like 2 of 8. What is Louis Tomlinson's phone number? That is a question I won't be answering. My number's got out quite a few times. I like my own privacy, so unfortunately, I'm not going to give you that. There's 2 on here. What kind of dog does Louis Tomlinson have? What a great reveal at the end there. I got 2 dogs. I got a golden doodle and I got a labradoodle, Bruce and Cliff. They're quite different dogs, the 2 of them. Bruce is like proper well behaved, good lad, proper like almost like a pretty dog, you know what I mean? Whereas Cliff, he's big, he's clumsy, he's a thief. Because, you know, everyone says dogs shouldn't go anywhere near chocolate. And I think maybe 2 or 3 Easters ago, he stole a full Easter egg, which I was worried about. But I found out after, I think as long as they don't eat the body weight in chocolate, you're all right. So he lives to fight another day. Okay. Is Louis Tomlinson British? 2, right? Get to know. Oh, hang on a minute. Well, you can't see that, but it says, is Louis Tomlinson on tour? Not yet. Glad you asked. About to go on the road next year. Tickets are on sale. Go have a look. There we go again. Wow. I'm getting a bit shit at this now. Is Louis Tomlinson a football player? Yeah, my local club, Doncaster Rovers, where I'm from, I was lucky enough one year. I mean, it was a bit of a PR thing on their end, but also I'm a fairly decent football player. They signed me onto the books for a year. I was on the back of the programme every game day. I got a squad number, which I got tattooed on my hand, 28. It was a good time to be around. Is Louis Tomlinson vegan? I'm not a vegan. I mean, in England, we're doing all sorts at the moment, like vegan sausage rolls, which feels like a contradiction to me. I'm not a vegan, no, but respect to everyone who is. Is Louis Tomlinson left-handed? No, I'm not left-handed. I'm right-handed, believe it or not. What more have I got to say about am I left or right-handed? That's your lot. Is Louis Tomlinson nice? I suppose it depends who you ask, really. I think so. I like to think so. Yeah. These are funny, these, man. What is Louis Tomlinson's favourite colour? Red. I love red. Often try and incorporate red into pretty much anything I do, really, creatively. And also my football club, Donny Rovers, they play in red, so that'd be why. What is Louis Tomlinson Just Hold On about? You know, it's another one of those songs that's saying, you know, regardless of what happens in life, you just got to try and be hopeful, really. What is Louis Tomlinson's middle name? That'll be an obvious Google answer. That's William. Don't use it that often. I imagine some of my fans know. That's my middle name. Bit of trivia for you. What movies has Louis Tomlinson been in? I ain't ever been in a movie, like, other than the One Direction movie. Starred in that. When I was really young, I did the odd bit of extra work here and there. There's one really tragic clip online of me, I think about 14 years old. Out of a line, but I look petrified. Who is Louis Tomlinson? Who is Louis Tomlinson's best friend? Probably me, ginger mate, Ollie. Goes everywhere with me. Lives with me most of the time. Hears the songs first most of the time. Went to school with him, known him for like like 10 years now, 12 years or something. That's mad. Who is Louis Tomlinson, X Factor judge? I was an X Factor judge. I've also been on the show as a contestant. I was in this band called One Direction. They were pretty big. Who is Louis Tomlinson Miss You About? Miss You was originally written, I was bouncing between different parties and all the nightlife that LA has to offer. And there was moments where I felt like I was kind of just going along with it without really enjoying it so much. And that's kind of what that song was about. Who did Louis Tomlinson play for? That'd be Donny Rovers, or if we're going far back, Tickhill Juniors, Sunday League. Sunday League team, local area. It was the first team that I joined, called Tickhill Juniors. I think they're still going. In fact, I got a mildly cheeky email from them pretty recently asking for some funding. So I'll be in touch. Don't have anything more to say about that. On to where. Where was Louis Tomlinson born? I was born in Doncaster, probably the best place in the world. If you haven't been, you should go. Great holidays. I absolutely love where I come from. Great people where I'm from, and a great night out as well. Where does Louis Tomlinson currently live? I live between LA and London, and also try and get to Doncaster as much as I can. Quite a drastic jump, quite a different jump. It's just forever hot here in LA, you know what I mean? I was just talking about that, we're about to get into November and it's red hot and I'm just a true Brit, you know what I mean? When it's winter, I want cold. Where is Louis Tomlinson right now? Here, doing this little piece to camera for you. Where did Louis Tomlinson go to school? In Doncaster, there was a school called Hayfield School. Went there for 90% of my school life. Then I failed my A-levels and they didn't have me in, they wouldn't have me back in, which was a bit unfair of them. So then I went to another school for a year and then I went on X Factor, so. Where Louis Tomlinson audition? I auditioned in Manchester when I did the X Factor. Basically, long story short, the judges see thousands of people, you know, across however many days. So I wanted to be at the start of the auditions. I started queuing up at like 4 a.m. Because I wanted to be one of the first to be seen, because I thought I had a better chance then. And I was right. When was Louis Tomlinson born? Christmas Eve, 1991. Good time to have your birthday. Everyone's in a good mood. When is Louis Tomlinson going on tour? Starts March next year. Goes all the way through to June, July. Super excited to come on tour. I feel like I've been waiting my whole solo career for this moment, so pretty excited about that one. Okay, this is an interesting one. When Louis Tomlinson Valerie? I'm imagining you're talking about when I started with the band. I think on our first tour, I did a cover of Amy Winehouse, Valerie. Maybe you're asking when I might sing that again. The answer is I don't know. When did Louis Tomlinson perform Just Hold On? I performed it a few times. It came out off the top of my head, I think 2017. So my first performance with that was on the X Factor. You know, I'd never done a solo performance on my own, and the X Factor was always a big performance for us as a band. So to come back and do that on my own was both exciting and nerve-wracking. On to the last one, right. Louis Tomlinson. Cute, I think that says. I'm not just making the assumption, I can read it. Louis Tomlinson, cute. Again, not sure how to react to this one, other than saying, thanks, love. Louis Tomlinson tattoos, that I have many of, quite a few stupid ones. I'm trying to look at which my latest one was. Probably this horrible one that I got done on the X Factor. Not even straight lines. Pretty bad. Louis Tomlinson eye colour. Well, I've got blue eyes, but I'm not going to lie, my eyes do slightly change colour. If I'm wearing a blue top, they look a bit bluer. What they're looking like today, I don't know. But normally blue. Louis Tomlinson hairstyles. I ain't had that many of them, to be honest. I've had like 3 in rotation for the last like 9 years. What's pretty funny about my hair though is, you know, from being in a band like One Direction, I've almost forgot how to do my own hair. It's pretty tragic that, innit? You know what I mean? I'm lucky to have someone doing my hair, but then there's times where I go on a night out and I'm looking at it thinking, I'll be honest, I don't even know how to start. So I just put a cap on. Louis Tomlinson, One Direction, that is the band I am in, was in, whichever way you look at it. Don't really know what else to say about that. Good time in my life. Hopefully we come back. Louis Tomlinson, Back to You. Yep, that was the name of one of my songs, so I assume you bang that into Google and my song will just pop straight up. Give it a listen if you want. Did it with Bieber Rexha. I did the music video in Doncaster, where I'm from, so again, that was special for me. Yeah, thanks for that. Okay, thank you very much for watching and thank you for all of your questions. Cheers.